So today we're going to be talking about the quadratic formula, and before I talk about it, I want to go ahead and show why the quadratic formula is important. So previously, when we've had three terms that we needed to, and I should say two terms with x's, and we need to solve the equation, we would get the equation equal to 0 and then factor. So if we try factoring this, 4 times 1 is 4, and then we've got negative 8 up top. And there are no factors of 4 that add up to negative 8. That's how you know you're going to use what's called the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula is, there's a way to generate it using what's called completing the square, but this is the formula. It's x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So that is the formula we're going to be using today, and here we go. We're just going to go ahead and do this one, and we only really need to use it if factoring doesn't work. So I'm just going to put this off to the side for this first problem. So first thing you do is make sure it's equal to 0 like we did when we factored. So it's equal to 0. Step 2 would be then to identify your A, your B, and your C. In this case, A is 4, B is negative 8, C is 1. And then you start putting it into the formula. So we've got x equals, now negative b means to do the opposite of b. So I'm going to do positive 8 plus or minus the square root of negative 8 squared. Notice I put that in parentheses. Minus, and then you do 4 times our a, so 4 times 4 times our c, which is 1. All of that's going to be over 2 times the a, so 2 times 4. Okay, first thing I want you to do when you do these kind of problems is to figure out, we call this under the square root the discriminant. And we're going to go ahead and just figure out what that is. So 8 squared minus 4 times 4 is just 48. So this is the same thing, as 8 plus or minus the square root of 48. And then I'm also going to figure out what 2 times 4 is. So that's all over 8. I'm going to call that the exact answer. You can simplify that. So 48 is the same thing as 16 times 3, and you can simplify that from there. But we're not going to worry about that because we're just going to go ahead and find approximate answers. So to do that, I keep doing that, sorry. You take 8 plus the square root of 48 and divide it by 8 in your calculator and find the approximate solution. And then the other one would be 8 minus the square root of 48 over 8 and find that approximate solution. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Some calculators, you just have to be aware that some calculators you're going to have to put the top in parentheses. So if you have to write it out like this, where it's 8 plus square root of 48 divided by 8, so it's horizontal like so, put that all in parentheses. Okay. In fact, there will be a little double parenthesis because they'll usually have it written like this. So hardest part is typing it in correctly, so let's make sure we do that. I accidentally did the, well, I didn't accidentally, but I did the minus one first, so we got 0.13 for that one. And then I'll just switch that minus sign to a plus sign, and I get approximately 1.87. Okay. So the hardest part is just making sure you know how to plug it in the calculator. Okay, so number 2, same idea, but first thing we need to do is get it equal to 0. So I don't care how you do that. I'm going to go ahead and add the 3k squared. So we have 0 equals positive 3k squared plus 6k minus 10. Notice we're using k's this time. So when we do the formula, instead of saying x equals, we're going to say k is equal to, and we're going to still use the same values. I'm going to put this off to the side. So our A is 3, our B is 6, our C is -10. So it says to do the opposite of B, so I'll do -6 plus or minus the square root of 6 squared minus 4 times our A, so 4 times 3 times our C, so -10. So I'm just plugging it into the formula up here. All of that's going to be over 2 times our A. So we're going to put that into the formula, or into our calculator, I mean, and also the denominator into your calculator. So when you put in 6 squared, so we have 6 squared minus 4 times 3 times -10, that will give you 156, and then the bottom will be a 6. 2 times 3 is 6. Once again, I am just going to go ahead and find the approximate solutions now. So this would be our exact answer. It's not simplified, but it's okay. So one of them's just adding, the other one is the same thing but subtracting. So I'm just changing the sign in between right here. And then you just need to make sure you know how to type it into your calculator. So it's a good idea to practice this on one of these, if not both. So when you add, you're going to get 1.08 approximately. And when you're subtracting, you'd get -3.08.